Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My new Karen neighbor has been using me as a free babysitter and I never even knew. After that, make my coworkers cry? I'll help karma turn your life upside down. And after that, am I the jerk for banning my sister-in-law's son from my house until she finds out what's wrong with him? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to watch her own kids. But that's what family's for, am I right? So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My new Karen neighbor has been using me as a free babysitter and I never even knew. I, 23 male, live within 1 mile of 4 elementary schools, so there are tons of kids around here. I have a garden, so I'm outside a lot, and most of the neighborhood kids end up at my lawn at some point in the day. For the most part, it doesn't bother me. They're all great kids, and they have tons of questions about plants, gardening, composting, all that good stuff. I recently finished my PhD in plant systematics, so I honestly do enjoy teaching them about plants and seeing them get excited to learn about it. Also, it is a bit refreshing to have kids running around and screaming outside rather than sitting in front of screens. Recently, an issue has come up though. I was out gardening and the kids came by as usual. I finished up earlier than usual and I went inside. About an hour later, someone is literally banging on my front door. It's my neighbor, and after I open it, she instantly starts screaming about how I left her kids alone out there for an hour. And I was at first a bit confused. After some more discussion, I learned that she lets her kids outside every day and tells them to hang out with me while she goes and does whatever. Eventually, I just apologized and I closed the door. After some thinking though, I really don't think I'm in the wrong. I'm not okay with watching someone's kids. First, I didn't even know I was watching them. What if someone had gotten hurt? I wouldn't even know what to do. Second, I feel like this is neglect. She doesn't know me anywhere near well enough to have me babysit for her while she leaves. Lastly, childcare is expensive for a reason. I've been watching these kids for free? So I went and knocked on her door. Maybe I was a bit harsh, but I told her that I'm not a babysitter and I will no longer allow her kids near my house or me. I told her I was extremely uncomfortable by this situation, and if she leaves them outside without someone watching them again, I will call the authorities. I would not like to do that at all. She went off saying she can't afford childcare and I'm a jerk to not just watch her kids when she needs help. I've now gone to the rest of my neighbors and told them that I do not want any of their kids in my yard, and I explained the whole situation. Most were very understanding and they watched their own kids. Today, one boy came by and I asked him to leave, and he said okay, but he was clearly holding back tears, and now I'm feeling like a jerk. I'm needing some outside opinion. Am I the jerk for this? How do I even handle this situation? Not the jerk. As you say, this woman would be the first to blame you if something did happen to her kids, and since she never officially came over and said, "Hey, I've just got to run some errands. Can you watch my kids for 15 minutes?" They were never officially in your care. I'd still call the authorities and voice concerns if I were you. She clearly isn't looking after her kids that well if she just offloads them to anyone randomly. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the neighbor? Please let us know. Talk about an entitled parent. Make my coworkers cry? I'll help karma turn your life upside down. Backstory. I worked at this hotel for over 2 years and was one of 2 people left that went through the training when our hotel changed hotel franchises. During this training, we were told about certain rules the company had. Cast. We've got the manager, front desk manager. He only was here for 4 to 6 months at this point. We've got me. I'm a nice guy, unless you are a bully or entitled person. A few others I will mention as we go through. Story. One afternoon, I was scheduled to work second shift, 3 to 11. I walked in, and both AM front desk coworkers looked like they had been massively crying as their makeup was all smeared. My manager looking quite upset. I ask, "What's wrong?" Manager, "We have a major jerk as a guest. This guy is the highest level on the rewards for the hotel chain. He's very demanding and wants free upgrades, free this and that, and he screams anytime he has an interaction with the staff. This guy has made every department call me complaining about him. Now this guy just came to the desk and screamed at these 2 coworkers until they were both crying. These 2 ladies were fresh high school graduates and were very sweet and innocent people. They loved helping people and didn't deserve this treatment." As he's explaining this, I look up this guy's room details. Once my manager finishes explaining everything this guy had done, I see this guy's info, and I had a smile from ear to ear. I reply, "Didn't you see he's an employee of a different hotel?" Manager, "Yes, but so what?" I replied, "First off, while you travel as an employee, you're required to behave and be respectful. It's in the fine print on the discount form." I grabbed his form and showed it to the manager. Failure to be respectful can lead to having your employee discount suspended or permanently revoked, and even get you terminated. You need to call this guy's hotel and ask for the GM, then explain to him who you are and what this guy is doing. I look up the hotel phone number and call the hotel, and then hand my manager the phone. Manager, after his call ends with the GM, has an evil and satisfying smile on his face. His GM is steaming mad after I described all the stuff this guy's done. Main switchboard phone rings. I answered, "Hello, thank you for calling our hotel. How may I direct your call?" Caller, "I want to speak to entitled jerk's room, please." I replied, "Absolutely, sir. Have a nice day." Transferred the call and looked at my manager and saying with a sarcastic tone, "Someone wanted to talk to entitled jerk. Gee, I wonder who that could be." Manager continues after he stopped laughing. The GM gave me his personal cell phone number and said if I have any more issues at all to call him immediately. I'm leaving the phone number next to the switchboard if you need it to call him. I told manager, "Your revenge is done. Now for my revenge." Manager wide-eyed, "Oh crap, what are you going to do?" Me smiling a very evil smile. "You'll see." I pick up the phone to make a call. "Hello, Hotel Rewards customer service. Yes, I would like to report someone using rewards account while using employee discount on his stay." Customer service, "He can't do that." I replied, "I know, I'm calling to report him." I gave her the guest reservation number and rewards member number. I continued, "I bet anything if you dig through this guy's history, you'll find all his stays are probably at employee discount." Customer service, "I'm starting a ticket to have this guy's account investigated." I replied, "Thank you," then hang up the phone. The manager watched as I then removed his rewards number from his stay. My manager had a huge grin on his face. "That was awesome." I explained, "Oh, I'm not quite finished with him yet. It's time to go spread the news to all departments he is no longer a rewards member." I made a new key for his room without concierge access. I walked around to every department. As I explained while I was stopping by, everyone had the exact same reaction as I mentioned the guy's name. "Oh God, now what about this jerk?" I finished explaining how he was no longer a rewards member, and if he gives anyone issues to call the front desk immediately, and his GM already probably tore him a new one just a minute ago. Everyone was so happy at this news. I finally went to the concierge room and used the guest's new key to void his current key. Then I walked into the room and explained the information to the evening concierge. She cringed at the mention of his name. After explaining she would not have to deal with him again, and she asked to leave the morning person a note about this guy not allowed in the concierge room anymore. She was very happy. While I was gone, evidently, the manager explained what we did to the 2 a.m. front desk ladies. The minute I got back to the desk, both my front desk coworkers all came up to me and gave me a huge hug and thanked me so many times. Manager to me after the other coworkers went home. "Do me a huge favor, please." I replied, "Sure, what's up?" Manager, "If I ever upset you, please come tell me so I can fix the issue." Later that night, entitled jerk comes to the desk, hat in hand, politely saying his key doesn't work. I replied, "Oh, so sorry about that. Let me make you a new key," and my best fake smile I can muster. Aftermath. Next day, I check his rewards account and it's now suspended. Check back next week. Sorry, account number not found. Am I the jerk for banning my sister-in-law's son from my house until she finds out what's wrong with him? I'm 33, female. My husband and I host all of our family gatherings. We have a 5-year-old daughter. This story also concerns my brother, who's 37, and his girlfriend, Stacy, who's also 37. Stacy has a son, George, who's 7, from a previous relationship. George has severe behavioral problems that became evident from the first time we met him. He's hyperactive, destructive, belligerent, nasty, and his mother can't manage him. Whenever his mother brings him to family events, we're all on high alert. He has to be watched constantly, especially around any of the other kids or animals. We've not had an event with him present where at least one thing hasn't ended up broken. He will break plates, throw food, throw tantrums, screaming and flopping around on the floor, and more. It's exhausting to have him around, and frankly, the kid freaks me out. We've all kept out of it because he's not our kid, But he's not even my brother's kid, so it's certainly not our place. But our whole family knows there is something not right with him. Earlier this year, the family all visited us at our vacation home, and George was his usual self. The final straw was him using language he shouldn't have been and saying horrible things when he was talking to my daughter. My husband stepped in, and a crying George played the victim to his mother, and this caused an argument between my husband and me, and my brother and Stacy. I told Stacy we had absolutely had enough, and that her child of the corn would not be allowed back in my house until she found out what was wrong with him and had a plan to manage his behavior going forward. At the time, everyone supported our decision because they all said it was high time Stacy recognized that George's behavior was not normal. Boys will be boys' behavior. We haven't seen them since summer. About a week ago, we were all locking in plans for Christmas, which we planned to spend at a ski resort. Stacy texted me to confirm about plans, and I asked her what she had done about George. She said nothing official, but his behavior had been getting better. I told her nothing except some kind of diagnosis from a medical professional and a documented plan to mitigate his behavior would get him back in my house. Stacy has since been complaining to everyone that I'm discriminating against her kid and that his behavior has improved. She's also accused me of thinking she's a bad mother because she works and of disliking her and George because he's not my brother's kid. None of that is true. Everyone is saying I should relent and let them come on the understanding that she is responsible for any damages and will leave if he acts up. I don't want to bend on this because I don't want a drama-filled Christmas or to have to be the bad guy and kick them out around the holidays with no other plans. Am I the jerk? Edit. People were asking about the resort, so to clarify, we own a chalet in the resort and the whole family will be staying at our chalet over the Christmas holidays. Not the jerk. I personally would cancel on hosting the whole family at the resort this Christmas since everyone is pushing you to cave to Stacy. Make it a private holiday for you, your husband, and your daughter. Let your extended family make their own holiday plans and even host George in their homes. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. Don't worry, OP. I can't stand children of the corn either. Am I the jerk for dog-proofing my house but not child-proofing it? I will admit, this all seems weird to me. Important things to note. I have a dog that's deathly allergic to chicken, so we don't keep chicken in the house. Additionally, while my significant other and I don't have kids, a lot of my family do, and some of them are vegetarian. Our go-to meals for the kids in the family are less chicken nuggets and ketchup and more pancakes or butter noodles. Also, I have a sister-in-law who goes anaphylactic with either nuts or legumes. Moving on. I had my brother, sister-in-law, and niece over at my house. Sister-in-law invited some of her friends, which was just lovely. Her friends brought their tiny kids. All 4 tiny tots were under 2 years old. All parents were warned that I have a very sweet pup and that the house is safe for dogs, but they need to watch their kids, who are all under the age of 2. Immediate chaos. Why don't you have gates for the stairs? My significant other, dog, and I know how to use the stairs. We don't need gates. That's so dangerous. Why don't you have doorknob things? My toddler can open the door. My significant other, my dog, and I don't need those. Again, not child-proofed. The list continued, and my significant other left with the pup to avoid having to deal as my brother tried to help me with all of this. One of the moms announces that her daughter needs lunch and looks at me expectantly. I look around as I was not planning on feeding this many people, then decided, oh well, pancakes it is. Kids love them, parents can't complain about a free meal. I tell the mom this. She says pancakes are breakfast food, her kid needs protein, and that her toddler needs chicken nuggets. We don't have that, try again. What do you mean you don't have chicken nuggets? We don't keep chicken in the house. Dog's allergic, and my significant other sucks at not sharing food with a pup, so no chicken, try again. But my baby will starve. I go into the kitchen with my brother and start making pancakes. The one mother follows me, starts going through my kitchen looking for something, opens up the dog's medicine cabinet and sees the giant tub of peanut butter and screams, "Are you trying to hurt your sister-in-law?" That's for the dog. Sister-in-law can't eat peanuts. Yes, which is why everything has been sanitized and the peanut butter has been put away. Did the crazy mom stop? No. She tore into me about how a dog shouldn't be prioritized over a mother, that a dog is an animal and my sister-in-law is a mother who could get hurt. I guess the fact that my dog lives here and sister-in-law doesn't is a moot point, But that was when I decided that the pancakes were unnecessary and everyone needed to leave. I thought I was in the right, but my sister-in-law texted me that it's weird that I prioritize my dog and refuse to feed hungry kids. I just didn't want to listen to them complain about how I'm a crappy host and a crappy person anymore. Update. I put this in the comments, but we'll add it here. Part of the problem is that I am a nanny. Part of the problem is that I volunteer with a lot of different groups that help kids and their families. As such, I have a ton of experience not just watching kids, but also tons of stuff in my office that I give to kids and families. Except the stuff isn't mine. It's the nonprofits, and I just hold on to it until we hold the events where we give it out to the families. I spoke to my brother. Sister-in-law expected that her and her friends could come over, get free childcare for as long as they wanted, and a ton of free stuff. So that led to a call with my sister-in-law and how none of that would ever happen. Ever. I was told I need to care more about my family and less about other people. So, yay. Long story short, sister-in-law is still upset at me for making her look bad in front of her friends, and I'm upset that she thought any of that would happen, and my brother is stuck in the middle. Good times. Not the jerk. This entitlement is shocking. You don't have kids. There's no need to kid-proof your house. Also, is chicken nuggets a food essential in the US? 'Cause darn, I don't know anyone who commonly always has chicken nuggets at home. Nuggies are love, nuggies are life. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you tolerate these people in your home? Bruh, I would have gone off on all of them. You ain't gonna come into my house and treat me like that. Am I the jerk for not taking the next elevator when a mom with 7 kids demanded it from me? A neighbor of mine has 7 kids and they're all under the age of 9. I've seen her many times and she always demands people take the next elevator because she has kids who need to get home. She has physically shoved into the elevators and forced people out, including my elderly father. I was on my way home from work. I take public transit and she was on the bus with all her kids. They were screaming and running up and down the aisle, basically making such a scene that the driver asked her to have the kids sit down before they get hurt. Sure enough, one of the kids was spinning around one of the poles and bumped her head as we were going over the train tracks near my place and started screaming. She looked like she was physically okay, not even a red mark, but she screeched the rest of the ride to the building. I was first in the building and hit the elevator button. She came in with her double stroller and her gaggle of kids running around her as I stepped into the elevator and held the door for her. She told me that I would have to get out and wait for the next one. I said, "Excuse me?" She heavily sighed at me and said, "My stroller won't fit with you in here. Get out and take the next one." I refused, saying I would make myself as tiny as I could, but I was staying in the elevator. She became irate, pointed at her kids and said, "Do you see what I'm dealing with here?" I said, I understood that it's overwhelming, but I had worked a long day and I needed to get home. I said, "In or out, because I'm going now." She pulled her stroller and kids out, calling me a jerk the entire time. A few people were waiting behind her and they got in with me. 2 began thanking me for standing up to her because she does this all the time, but the other one called me a jerk for not being sympathetic to her situation. I don't think people should have to make constant accommodations for people just because they have kids, especially when they're rude and demanding. But am I the jerk here? Edit. People are concerned with the way that this woman has treated my father. She didn't actually touch him. He was in the elevator and she pushed her stroller in, waved her arms, and yelled at him to get out several times. Because he's hearing impaired, he was very confused and only knew that she was yelling at him, and he got off the elevator. Had she put her hands on him, charges would have been filed. She has 7 kids and they're all under the age of 9? Not the jerk. There is no chance I need to read any further. Sir, let me finish. So I work tech support for helping some tax accountants. Basically, I do the general tech stuff, like printers not working, phones not ringing, internet or computers freezing, etc. But I don't do the tax stuff as I don't know taxes, and we have a separate department for that. Things like, the program is calculating my income tax wrong is not me. Even if the tax pro feels 100% sure they did everything right, and it's for sure the computer having an error, we still need them to swing by the support team who does tax stuff to get their stamp of approval that it is a technical issue before we assist. Now I'm ad-libbing nonsense tax jargon, so the details are wrong, but it's basically how the call sounded to me. So I get a call and I answer. Me. Hello, thank you for contact her. Yeah, hi, so listen, I've got a 1040G DX9 error on the I-99G form, but it's calculating Louisiana tax instead of Ohio, and the diagnostic errors say me. Sorry, ma'am. I think you... Her. Sir, please let me finish. So the diagnostic error says that Louisiana cannot claim that many dependents without an F14G, but I have the F14G attached, but it thinks it's an F15G, even though the claims DX4 has it under the second page of the 14% fiduciary claim and me. Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, but her. Sir, please, I'm in a hurry here. Please don't interrupt. She then proceeded to talk about more tax jargon for what felt like 5 straight minutes. Then, when she was finally done, I just waited silently. Neither of us say anything. Her. Okay, I'm done. What do I need to do? Me. You need to call the correct department, because there's a problem with the tax software, and I'm your general tech guy for printers and computer stuff. Her. What? So I have to repeat all that again? Why didn't you stop me? Me. I tried twice. You yelled at me not to interrupt. Twice. So I didn't. She just huffed loudly and hung up. Best call ever. Am I the jerk for canceling the entire trip after finding out that my husband hid my daughter's passport? My husband and I have been together for 3 years. He has 3 kids from his previous relationship, and I have 1. She's the oldest. She's 17. He's a dedicated man, puts God first, and loves everyone. My husband always complains that my daughter doesn't spend time with her step-siblings or him, but she has reasons for that, and that is school, health issues, and work. She does her best to spend as much time with them as she can, but she, on the other hand, complains that her stepdad tells her to basically take on the role of a babysitter whenever she's with her step-siblings. My husband denied that, and said that my daughter was making up excuses to not have to spend time with his kids. For this issue, I figured that a family trip is what the family needs to get together and spend more time around each other. My husband liked the idea, but said that his kids are now uncomfortable around my daughter because of her attitude, and suggested that we let her stay home and have the house all to herself since that's what she's always wanted. I told him it's best that we all go. He kept complaining until I snapped and I told him to stop. I booked for and paid for the whole family. However, my daughter told me she couldn't find her passport. We turned the house upside down looking for it, but couldn't find it. My husband said maybe it was a sign from God that we should let her stay home so the trip wouldn't turn into a disaster. I ignored the comment, but later while I was cleaning his office, I found the passport tucked away in the 3rd drawer under a ton of papers. I was floored by this. I confronted him with it, and he swore he had no idea why or how the passport got there. I checked the upstairs camera and saw him enter into a room. That was it for me. I screamed my head off at him, then canceled the whole trip completely. He started arguing, saying that I overreacted and that he didn't want his kids to be miserable on the trip, and he's willing to apologize to my daughter if and when I reconsider my decision regarding the cancellation of the trip, because my stepkids will be devastated. But I said it was final and that it was done. He became cold and distant and said that he wants to take some time to do some fasting and get guidance from God about how he should deal with the disrespect and control I had displayed lately. Am I the jerk for canceling it altogether? Where'd you find this guy? We don't work here, but what the heck? I'll take your order. In my youth, my family was rather poor, lower middle class. My dad, who could not read or write, worked graveyard shift at a creamery. My mother, a housewife, was very active in PTA and other community activities. My dad's job paid the bills and put staple foods on the table, but left no room for comfort expenses. As soon as I was old enough, I got a paper route. The monthly funds went towards padding our family budget. One simple joy we took a pleasure in was once a month, we would splurge on a quiet salad and pizza dinner at the local Pizza Hut. This story takes place 1987 to 1988. I was about 14 at the time. We arrived one Sunday afternoon at the local pizza parlor. We went in, we sat down at our regular table, and we waited for the waitress to come take our order. We talked, we waited. We cracked jokes and waited some more. We started to realize something was not quite right after 10 to 15 minutes. We had heard the phone ring a few times, but other than that, there was none of the usual sounds of bustling workers in the kitchen area. Curious, I slid out of the bench and approached the cashier's counter. Looking around in the back area, I could not see a living soul. "Hello," I called out. Nothing. "Anybody back there?" Again, no response. Now I was feeling that distinct, edgy feeling one gets while watching a horror movie. I returned to my parents and informed them what I had discovered, or should I say, lack of discovery. Check the restrooms, my dad suggested. My mom agreed. She checked the women's room while dad checked the men's room. No one. Now we were all very concerned and more than a little frightened. We had heard on TV and in newspaper stories how sometimes a robbery goes bad and it was only discovered later on. Call the police? Mom suggested, pointing at the phone on the wall, which chose that very moment to ring out loud, making all of us jump in fright. The freezer? I said over the ringing phone. What? Mom asked. The freezer. In horror movies, that's where the bodies are always at, right? I'll look, I said. The heck you will, my mom responded with authority. Your father will check it out. My beloved father, the man I admired most in the world, pointed at me and said, he runs faster. In the end, I did indeed go behind the counter by the simple fact my parents were too busy arguing over who would go check in the back to notice me walking off. First, I armed myself with an impressively large and surprisingly sharp round pizza cutter sitting on a counter. Next, I checked the entirety of the back area. The back door was locked from the inside. Then I checked the manager's office cubicle. Finally, I approached the freezer. I knew what I was going to find. I've seen this scene in plenty of movies. By this point, both my parents noticed my absence and had joined me, staring at the freezer door with morbid anticipation. I grabbed the handle, pulled, and threw the door open, and sure enough, there staring back at us was boxes of pizza-making supplies. But no bodies? What? I was, truth to tell, very disappointed. Nobody, nothing, no workers. We were the only ones in the pizza parlor. Hello, came a call from the front. I'm pretty sure if a little more effort had been put into the jump scare, we would have hit our heads on the ceiling. Quickly, we approached the front. I recall my heart racing a mile, thinking an employee had arrived, only to find a middle-aged gentleman waiting along with his wife by the wait to be seated sign. Oh, there you are, he said. We would like a table for two. I'm sorry, sir, my mother replied. We don't work here. Okay, but we want a table for two. There is nobody here. We checked, Mom explained. Yes, I can see the place is empty. So can we have a table in the back? The man pressed. We don't work here. As far as we can tell, there is nobody here that's supposed to be here. Mom further elaborated. So where can we sit? Oh, just find a place to park your butts. The place is empty, my dad butted in. My father, bluntly, honest, and always absurdly practical. Honey, just call the police. Let them know what we found. With that, my dad scuttled off to the salad bar. Let it be known, my father was never one to let an opportunity for a meal go to waste. It took over an hour for a police officer to arrive. The reason it took so long, as the officer would explain later, was that dispatch had downgraded our call to non-emergency status. During the wait, however, we had to deal with a few things. Waiter, we would like our menus, please. My dad, being the helpful sort with a decidedly odd sense of humor, gave the couple menus. 1 sweet tea and 1 unsweet with lemon, please. I was already hitting the fountain drink machine. I was there, it was there, and Mom had found the coffee supplies, so what the heck, I brought them their drinks. We would like 2 dinner salads and a large pepperoni pizza. Dad pointed to the plates by the salad bar and told them, might be a few minutes on the pizza. Gotta wait for an employee to show up first, but go ahead and eat as much salad as you want. Then one of the nearby churches let out. Hello, there are 4 of us. Hi, we've got 2 more coming. I tried calling several times. Can I please get 2 large pizzas to go? By the time the police officer arrived, my mom and I were effectively running the parlor along with a guy who came in from the church with his family. He said he once worked at the other Pizza Hut in town while in college. Mom took orders. I delivered drinks and food. I got tips. And the young man made the pizzas. My dad? He was busy eating and chatting with the customers. As for people paying for their food, neither my father or I could calculate our way past 10 fingers and 10 toes. Mom, on the other hand, was one of those super annoying people of her generation that could calculate a whole string of numbers in her head faster than you could type on a digital calculating machine. Really, really annoying. So she figured up the amount, including tax, and had them pay with a check. The checks were slid under the cash register. The register itself we did not even try and touch. When the officer arrived, we were quite happy to recognize him as one of the officers my dad was friends with. Back then, police officers on the night shift could come by the creamery my dad worked at and get free ice cream from the employees' break room. Dad would often take time to shoot the breeze with them for a few minutes. Officer Shield, as I will call him, immediately recognized my dad and asked him what was going on. My dad explained the situation and I butted in, sounding a little disappointed, I'm sure, that we didn't find anyone in the freezer. Officer Shield first went to the register, opened it, and confirmed that there was still cash in the till box, then walked around the inside and outside of the building. No signs whatsoever of any kind of a disturbance. He called in and waited for orders from higher up. In the meantime, never let it be said a police officer is willing to pass up an opportunity for free food. 20 to 30 minutes later, I can't recall, but eventually he got a call back telling him to lock up the place. They were trying to contact the owner of that franchise. But problem, he couldn't find the keys to the parlor, and the main doors had to be locked from either the outside with a key or the doors locked from the inside with the latch, then exit out the back door, which required a key to lock the bolt from outside. Officer Shield called that fact back in. A few minutes later, the lead officer on shift arrived to evaluate the situation. What did he find? A pizza parlor half full of customers happily chowing down on pizza. When he asked, understandably confused, why Officer Shield called in his report saying there was no employees on the premises when clearly customers were being served, at which point I oh so happily piped in while handing off a pizza to go to a waiting customer. "Oh, we don't work here. We're just being helpful." So eventually the police managed to contact the owner after a couple of hours. The owner contacted the manager and the manager came storming in. Lots of anger and confusion. The manager, in a fluster, tried to accuse my parents and I of theft of company property, but Officer Shield would have none of that and pointed out the checks, the order slips, and the list of anything we used. Then he pointed out the fact that we could have left the place empty and thieves could have ransacked the parlor. She backed down and focused on contacting the workers that were supposed to be on duty. Turns out the assistant manager had found out that very morning her boyfriend was having an affair. She had then gone on a tirade, taking out her anger on her male employees. They chose not to take it and walked out. The assistant manager then just decided to up and quit, leaving the shop wide open. As for my parents and I, we were informed by Officer Shield very firmly that should we, for whatever reason, find ourselves in such a situation again, it would be far more helpful if we refrained from being helpful. And yes, we did pay for our food and drinks, but we still got banned for life from that parlor.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.